are the gatekeeper of miracles every day and every way. I salute you in the spirit of Ubuntu.
Magician, the lover in you. Every single day, we are called to walk in our purpose. Answer the call. Lay down your burden and anything that holds you back and take your rightful place. The battle is everywhere. It's right in your face. Let's go.
Crystals and pyramids. Success is your destiny. Yes. Love, wisdom, power. Remember, yes. Always who you are. Yes. Yes. I am love, wisdom, power. Yes. Yes. Greetings and welcome, family, to Magnets, Crystals, Pyramids. This is a special Goddess Circle Medicine Women gathering tonight. This was inspired, created by the lovely Diana Pharr, and her goddess associates will be with her tonight. But as always, we want to thank you for being here with us, and we set up the Stargate by inviting our ancestors, our ascended masters who we ride on their shoulders. So I am in me, I am in you, listening audience, now and in the future. We collectively and individually thank and invite Yahshua to be with us on this platform, Mary of Magdalene. We thank and invite latest Christ born in the Congo, Simeon Toko, who invoked an army of muscle-bound, bulletproof black angels and chased the terrorist occupational Belgians out of the Congo. We thank and invite Black Madonna, Mother Mary. We thank and invite Enoch, the Ethiopian, who ascended into the heavens and became Metatron. We thank and invite Lady Buddha, Krishna, Lady Krishna, Nikolai Tesla. We thank and invite you now and in the future. Sanat Kumara, we thank you and invite you. So without further ado, I'm going to be backstage, family. Front and forward, we're going to bring the lovely goddesses, and they can introduce themselves. And Diana, you're going to handle this show because you started the flow. So welcome, and I am backing up. You got it. Welcome, Akilah. Welcome, Kathryn Davis. Show these lovely ladies.
Queen may be joining us. I just spoke with her.
Well, that'll be fine. I'll be backstage maintaining without wine. So do your thing, sis. Do your thing.
All righty. Good evening, everyone. I think it would be a good idea to start with some housekeeping, some introductions. I have Kathryn Davis and Dr. Donna Akilah is here. Why don't we start with, I'll do it in alphabetical order. Kathryn, why don't you introduce yourself?
Thank you. It's wonderful to be with you both again. And my name is Kathryn. I am the host and producer of a radio program called Heart of Mind, which you can hear on WBAI Pacifica Radio in New York, 99.5 FM, WBAI.org. And aside from that, I am a Qigong teacher and a person who is an explorer of the spirit, understanding the journey of our soul.
That's very beautiful. And you are that. And you are that. Donna Akilah, welcome. And introduce yourself. I love your colors this evening.
Oh, thank you. All right, so my name is Donna Akilah Wright. Most often in the professional world, they just call me Dr. Wright. I work with the City University of New York system. I'm a full professor and a chairperson and an educator. I have dedicated most of my life to the education of all children, but of children of African descent in particular.
And I'm Diana Pharr. I'm a teacher. I've been teaching life skills based on universal principles for some 40 years. And the last years of my life, I have used the source material of many ancient systems to codify, not create, but codify. And by that I mean translate the common motifs, the common themes that run through many systems into a practice called basic practice. And what basic practice is a means by which we can recover our natural state as human beings, which is quite magical. And it's magical because of the type of life experiences that emerge when we move in alignment with the essential movement of life. And that's what I am describing when I refer to the word magic. So to understand that, to get a sense of what that is, I always use the analogy of the cells knowing what to do when you cut yourself. The cells know what to do. They know how to move to heal. And the intelligence that directs the cells and how to move so that healing takes place is what I'm referring to when I say the essential movement of life. Not chi. Chi comes out of that. Prana comes out of that. Ashe comes out of that. There's an underlying movement that underlines all of reality that's eternal. And when we cooperate with that movement, that eternal movement, our experience of life is transformed. And that's what the basic practice is. It starts with the breath. We align with that movement through the breath. And not necessarily breath technique. Breath is a part of many disciplines. Martial arts, yoga, Qigong, all embrace the importance of the breath, the life force, as the connecting agent to the symbiosis that we have in nature. In this context, I'm talking about the function of the breath in a very specific way. Its ability for us to have agency, for us to be able to regulate on our own behalf our experience of mind, body, and emotion, and therefore begin to regulate what space-time we operate in our relationship to the natural world. So the basic practice starts with that. When I'm here, there are a few housekeeping things that I want to share that people should jot down. I'm doing a training. I'm doing an event, Restoring the Magic of Your Humanity, teaching basic practice over a period of 8 weeks, beginning this Saturday. And it's a free event. You have to pay something. You have to pay $7 to register. But once you register and you get the Zoom link, that gives you access to all of the training. In the morning session is basic practice and basic practice for early childhood education. And then in the evening, there are resource panels, because we're focusing on two things here. We're moving into an extraordinary historical epoch, period in history, where when we've been at this, when humanity has been arrived at such a place in time, life as we know it is transformed, and I'm sure people are already experiencing that. And to navigate through that time, if we connect with the magic of our humanity, we're able to move through that time, but we also need information and resources about every aspect of our lives. So finances, diet, healthcare, those things will be shared in the evening session. So each Saturday, there's a morning session that is the training, and then there's the evening session that is the resource panel. So I encourage you to attend. The other thing is that I will be hosting a training for basic practice for people who want to not only learn the practice, but they want to incorporate it into their work. And that will also be a free training. So people that are interested in doing that can contact me at D as in David, P as in Peter, H as in Harry, A as in Apple, R as in Ron, the number 8 at AOL.com. So, Kathryn, was there anything else? Did you mention your classes? I know you mentioned the show. I don't know if you mentioned that you also host classes, and that information should be shared. I'm trying to clear the housekeeping out of the way. Did you mention your classes?
Well, I did mention that I teach Qigong. And
can you tell us a little more about the schedule and how people can get involved in that?
Yeah, they can find it at my Qigong website, Dao, D-A-O, Qigong, Qigong, Life, Life.com, DaoQigongLife.com. I'm starting a new series of classes in February, about mid-February, and I primarily focus on self-care, how to find techniques to improve whatever might be ailing you, be it the lungs, the liver, the stomach. So it's a way of understanding how to move, breathe, and move the energy through your body. It's very much like traditional Chinese medicine, using the same principles, but rather than going to an acupuncturist, which is wonderful, we learn to move the energy with the focus of our mind, with the meditation, with sound and movement, so that we can restore our bodies to its natural, healthy state.
Thank you. Kathryn will also be one of the presenters in the resource panel for the Saturday event. So you'll have an opportunity. She'll be sharing. The panels are set up in such a way that they're meant to be less talks and more practical information, things that you can take away from the panel, informing you. So she'll be giving you some tips, some things that you can do that you can incorporate into your own daily routine, particularly our relationship to sound. She'll be bringing that aspect of Qigong to that and sharing resources that you can follow up and engage yourself in. And, you know, one of the resources you can connect with her at her classes. Dr. Wright has an extensive background in working with children. She started a school many years ago that was iconic here in Brooklyn, Sparks of Genius. She's now at Medgar Evers College, and she'll be helping share information on protecting our children, which is one of the areas that we'll be sharing information. How do you protect our children and also our elders? So, Dr. Wright, is there anything in that area that you want to, in this moment, share?
I want to share one thing. One of the ways that we can protect our children is by using the breath to assist children in controlling their emotions. This is going to be very detrimental, not detrimental, but very important to our continued survival in this country, the ability to control our emotions in classrooms, in varied settings. And I think that the breath allows that. In addition to that, the breath also allows children the opportunity to relax enough to engage in daydreaming, which is healthy when it's combined with the breath, because it's important for our children to imagine for themselves things that don't exist now. So that's the part I wanted to just add, and just linking it to the breath and the importance of
And
that.
also, and Dr. Wright also, she incorporates basic, there's also, in addition to basic practice, there is also basic practice for early childhood education, which Dr. Wright uses in her work. And the first movement in the children's practice, as in the adults' practice, is the breath. And, you know, with children, a skill, a life skill that we no longer possess in contemporary society is agency in regards to how we feel and what we think. If we are offended, or we have a disruptive circumstance appear in our life, the modern orientation to life experience is to internalize it. We feel the world, we feel the outer world very deeply. And it becomes a part of who we are. It becomes a part of how we respond to life in a way that we lose control over. We no longer have agency on how we're experiencing our internal environment. That if we have stress or a huge conflict event, the things that people call trauma, these things become incorporated into our nervous system, and they begin to shape us, and we start to identify with these experiences as though they are who we are, as though we are the effects of the world, and we are not the effects of the world. And breath gives us agency to realize that through breathing, not only do we have a symbiotic relationship with nature, but we have the ability to manage our hormonal environment. And this is so important at this time as we move into a society that is going to have technology become more central to our daily existence than it is now, which is fine if humanity leads the way, but if the technology leads the way, then we can get lost. If technology leads the way, then we can lose our way. So just that, the foundation of basic practice, the beginning of restoring your magic, is to recognize that you do have agency, that you don't have to be tossed around by everything that happens in the environment and internalize it to the extent that you lose the connection to the deepest truth of who you are. Because that's not who you are. We are not our experiences. The other movements in the practice, space is how we discover ourselves. We discover ourselves through our own personal cadence, which connects us to having a harmonious relationship with darkness and light. In medicine, this is called circadian rhythm. There's a dialogue going on within all of our organs. They speak to each other. They have a conversation. The human body is a phenomenal mechanism. And we are learning more and more about it that we did not know. Much of it the ancients did know on a daily basis. But how we discover the sense and the experience, who we are, is through the breath, and then we move to space. How do we move? Our natural cadence, the space between our tasks, where we connect with the intelligence that we process between our own activities. This is how we discover the deepest truth of who we are. And if we do not do that, if we do not know what it feels like to be ourselves, then we don't have a foundation by which to make choices in life. Choices is the third movement. And choices is very important. The ancients developed systems for choice making. They're called systems of divination, where we look at causation, cause and effect. What will be the outcome of this decision as compared to another decision? We have to have a foundation by which we can choose what it is to do. So the first three movements are very, very important. They're the movements by which we develop agency, that our experience of life begins to change, and we begin to resolve some of the most basic longings we have as human beings. The breath resolves the longing to what does it feel like to be alive? Space, what does it feel like to be truly rested? What does it feel like to be free to choose? What does it feel like to know what to do? If cells know what to do, your body right now, as you listen to this broadcast, your cells are functioning, the organ systems in your body are functioning, they're operating. There's an intelligence that guides them. And we have access to that intelligence. What tells the grass how to grow? What is the intelligence that is moving reality? And in many systems, we describe the life force as being energy. But I'm not talking about energy. I'm talking about that which precedes it, that which moves and causes energy to come into being. And then out of energy, all things emerge. Our connection to that, and how we experience ourselves and the type of senses that we have as beings. It's this that the ancients were referring to when they said magic. In Chem, they called it Hekau, but there are many names for it, many systems all over the world. So my work and Kathryn's work, Kathryn and I have not worked together, but we have worked together in the sense that we have followed the same longing of the importance of moving the most basic energy that we do have available with us which is the life force, which is prana. So along the line of your work and your classes, Kathryn, tell us some more about prana and why it's important and why someone should take a Qigong class. What is first? Let's share with the audience, for anyone that may not know that word or know what that means. What is prana? What is chi?
Well, chi and prana are kind of the same thing. I have found that we're talking about the same essence, the same substance, and different cultures may have taught it in slightly different ways or may have a different, excuse me, a different language for it because the language is spoken and the cultures are slightly different. But we're talking about the same essence of life force energy. And Qigong comes from the traditions of ancient China, and it is a way of connecting to the source of being to the best of our ability while embodied in human form. And what this practice does, it is allows us to connect to our internal intelligence, our internal body intelligence, and our internal um, functioning. So the qigong that I teach is based on three different philosophies or teachings. One is Taoism, which is about finding eternal life. The other is Buddhism, which is more about connecting to the spiritual life. And the other is traditional Chinese medicine, which is about understanding the science of how energy works in our body. And one of the things that I believe I'm going to share in this series are the six healing sounds. So everything in our body is vibrational. If you think in terms of the smallest part of our physical substance, they describe as an atom. And what is an atom but energetic charges, a positive, a negative, and a neutral? And based on that configuration, it helps to form the component of our body. So when we work with energy or we work with sound, we're transforming ourselves at that fundamental atomic level, allowing our body to heal and adapt to what's needed. It also helps us to cleanse our bodies, to clear old substances, because the way the chi works, it tends to be the first movement in the body because we are energetic beings. So if the chi is flowing as it should, your blood will flow as it should. And if your chi and blood are flowing in it as it's designed, then the lymph will flow. And the lymph is what detoxifies the body. The blood is what nourishes the body. But if they're not functioning, these what might and start out as very small blockages can end up as tumors and cancers and other kinds of dysfunction. So qigong is like bringing in the rotor-rooter to come in, unplug the chi, and allow the energy, the blood, and the lymph to move. And what I've come to understand is that these blockages don't just occur based on physical things. So if you take in toxins, if you're eating bad food, that's going to make you sick. But also if you're stressed out, that's going to make you sick. If you're holding old childhood wounds, or in some cases past life wounds, it will come through. And we also have a connection to the unhealed facets of our ancestors. And all of that takes up residence in our body, our physical body, and begins to create blockages that impair our ability to function at the maximum that we are capable of. So I find that the Qigong practice works on all these levels. It can work with anxiety and depression. It can work with physical ailments. It can work from sort of small problems to excessive problems, advanced disease. But it's not a miracle cure. One has to work with it and learn to do the practices in order to be able to impact their healing. And with the Taoist teachings, I've come to understand that these in the in the Indian system, the Ayurvedic system, um, there are the chakras. In Qigong, it's a little bit different. It's not all the seven chakras. There are three primary portals called dantians, which it translates as elixir field. And I've discovered that these energy fields were very closely related to the chakras, are not just one way. It's not energy coming out. We can go back into that prenatal state, that primordial state through the practice and as we recirculate that energy through the physical body, it sort of trains the cellular structure because that's the energy within which we were formed. You know, the yin, the yang, the mother, the father, the earth, the cosmos is what we find in these internal portals. And the lower dantian is what govern the development of our body through the fetus stage into a human being. So when we bring that energy back into our practice and circulate it, rather than having a sick cell produce another sick cell, it kind of reinvigorates and brings back the blueprint so that our body can begin to make um, pure cells again. And so we don't continue to advance in disease, but we rather begin to create healthy cells again. So it's a process, but I found it to be quite powerful.
Could you clarify a bit Buddhism? Because here in the West, people hear Buddhism and they think you're describing a religion. Could you clarify what Buddhism is and how it relates to Qigong?
Um, Buddhism, I would say, at its root is a spiritual practice. Like many practices, they were about connecting to source, connecting to pure energy. And over time, they were converted into religions. So the Buddhist practice tends to connect more to the field of the heart. And the heart, the shanzang in the middle of the chest, is about the integration of the body, the mind, and the spirit. So without that integration, you're just a body walking around, or you might be dominated by the mind. But the heart energy is what makes you a whole person and connects you to your true spirit. And that's how I understand the impact of Buddhism on um, Qigong. It's about connecting to your pure self, your pure connection to what, however you conceive of divinity, you know, prime source. And Buddhism is the practice from India and China that has that connection. Like in African spirituality, it might be the Orishas, it's a different thing. In ancient Egyptian cosmogony, you look at the Godhead, with the eight divinities. So it's different in each culture, but it's essentially a way of connecting to your spiritual root, the source of where we come from.
I think what you just said about if the energy of the heart, however it's described in whatever system, is not open, that we do become very thought emotionally centered. And I really hope that statement resonated with the audience, because we live in a country where the populace is, we're socialized and orientated to be thought and emotionally centered.
Mm-hmm.
And it totally misinforms the individual about who they are. It is not who you are. You are not your thoughts and your emotions. That's not who you are. And when you're not connected, when you are not connected to nature and the eternal essence in such a way that you default back into that space as you experience life, that you are the thing that's experiencing life, when that is not occurring, and that happens very much through the conversation between the head, heart, and gut, whatever system it is. And when we're not operating in that way, then we lose our way. We don't know what to do. We're trying to use the cognitive, we're trying to rationalize what to do. And it's not how we're designed as beings. We are designed as beings to be able to navigate this territory, the physical world, with a higher intelligence. Not that you don't use your thoughts, not that what you feel about things are not important, but it's not what you should be using to navigate through life. It's not nothing else in nature is emotional centered in terms of how it's navigating this reality. I wanted to bring Dr. Wright into the conversation because her role in our children and protecting our children, and just some of the things that I feel should be very important to the community in general, some of the things that we've been seeing recently as far as the direction that education is going in general, and what not just parents, but we all should be aware of and be concerned about. And what can we do? How can we contribute to the well-being of our children in general?
So, you mentioned agency before. We contribute to the well being of our children by giving them the space to develop their agency. Another thing that was mentioned was, or that was implicated, was this idea of intuitive intelligence. Our school systems are not going to teach that. And if they do, it will be a diluted version of what it should be. So when we talk about education and we talk about protecting our children, that's intuitive intelligence. There are more electromagnetic waves that go from the heart to the brain than from the brain to the heart. So you talked about mind, body, gut. Mind, brain, gut. These things have to work together. Our school systems is not going to teach that. And we have to allow children the freedom. And when I say freedom, I'm not talking about not having children that's disciplined. That would be adverse to our cultural way of life. But giving children the freedom to be able to develop that intuitive intelligence, to get them to be sensitive with how their gut feels, not feels, but rather how their gut is responding to a situation. That's important, and a protective way for us, for our families, to be more in tune with that. Schools don't teach that. But through the breath, controlling of the emotions, mastering the monkey mind, that mind that's just always thinking, then that opens the door for us to be more clearer about what we are feeling. not what someone says we should feel about something, especially when we think that as a people of African descent, we're still in operating in a colonizer, colonized in some aspects mentality or perspective. But if we have our gut, and if we also have this understanding, like a checkpoint, as we raise our children, that we have them ask the question, would what they're going to do, is it beneficial in some way to our people? If you think it's not, or your gut says it's not, then perhaps that's not something that you need to do, because we're going to have to ask that in the next couple of years as we move through this epoch, the early portions of this epoch. Is this something that we need to do? Is this something that's only individually beneficial to us? Is it something that can be expanded to be in benefit to others? We've got to train our children to ask those questions, because it's only through our collaboration that we'll make it through to whatever the other side of this looks like. So just to review again, the breath, control of your emotions, developing intuitive intelligence through the breath, talked about imagining that which is not. Viola Davis talks about her childhood, and she says how horrific it was. But sometimes there may be rodents that were crawling over her, and she had to wrap the sheet around her. She had to have the ability to see what does not exist. Because if she couldn't see that, then her mental health would only be stuck in what is. And whatever what is, it is only for a moment in time. So the breath, the control of the emotions, the development of agency, the ability to see what is not before your eyes and have the faith that it will come, or it has already come, from the moment that you begin to create it by sensing it and seeing it and giving it all of the sensory experiences that would be associated with it. Developing the intuitive intelligence, listening to your gut, keeping your heart lighter than a feather. That's your protection as well, because more electromagnetic waves goes from the heart to the brain than the brain to the heart. So it's a holistic approach. And through that approach, we begin to see who our children are. And we then also know what we need to shine up, if you will, what we need to buffer, what we need to sand within their personalities. Because no child is perfect, because no human is perfect. Perfection is an illusion that we all keep trying to meet, as we should. So we begin to understand that we're competing with ourselves. So our best and our better is better than what our best was the other day. And that change is possible. Mm-hmm. So that's some of the things that I would say with regard to educating our children and protecting our children during this early part of this new epoch.
Nice. I see a question. May I answer a question about acupressure sessions?
Yes.
I don't do acupressure. I do qigong, which means that I project the energy from fingertips, and my fingertips are very perceptive of what's happening in the body. So you can put energy in, and you can pull energy out. So that's more in tune with the qigong practice, which is a little different than massage and acupressure.
I'd add to that well, let's finish Kathryn, if you can repeat your housekeeping, your information for anyone that joined us later, your information about your show, your information about your class.
The radio program I do is called Heart of Mind, and it can be heard on WBAI Radio, Pacifica Radio in New York, 99.5 FM. On the dial, and WBAI.org. The show is every Friday at 11 a.m. And that's the best way to hear the broadcast. And it's about consciousness, health, spirituality. And I enjoy speaking with like minded people like the women I'm with here right now. You know, there's so much wisdom in the world. And for those who want to explore or study Qigong, I'll be starting up the classes again in February. I always offer a free introduction before starting a series so people can check it out and see if it's for them. The place to go is Dao, DAO, Qigong, Qigong, Life, LIFE, Dao, QigongLife.com. So I have videos there and I do a blog there and I connect with people on that level of healing from that particular site.
Dr. Wright, do you have any closing remarks that you'd like to share that people can take away with in terms of our children, in terms of anything that you would think would be helpful in this moment for?
I think that as parents, as community members, we need to feel blessed to be around during this particular time, because as such, we have the ability to truly contribute to tomorrow. And the fact that we are part of the transition, leading our children, are members of society that hopefully will be attaining a higher consciousness, is a blessing. And feeling trepidation in our heart, feeling an uneasiness, is just our gut telling us, preparing us for what is to come. But again, we have to use our breath and our imagination to really consider the kind of world that we want for our children, and to imagine that, and then do those actions to individually allow us to move through, and then we can bring our children around. I want us to think that this is a blessing. And even sometimes we may be scared of what's happening, what's going to happen. That's okay. You know, courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is standing within the fear that you experience. And that's where the blessing is standing. Because in my life, the Most High does not knock at 10 minutes to 12. No. The knock comes at 11:59.9.9. I'm not 0.9, but 11:59.99999. That's when the knock comes. So the knock only comes when you're standing in your fear, but you know within yourself, within your heart, that there's something else that's coming that is bright and blessed on the other side.
What I want to end with is that for a lot of us, this is a time of uncertainty.
Absolutely.
In the world in general. And this is cyclic. Long cycles are not as familiar to us as the shorter ones. We're accustomed to seeing the sun go down each day and rise again in the morning. So we're comfortable with that cycle. But what we're experiencing now is a historical epoch of a very long cycle. It has been recorded that there is, in the flow of life, when you don't know what to do, when things are breaking down, when all around you is changing in ways that you didn't anticipate, this is actually a natural point in the flow of life. This happens. We go through historical epochs where societies, cultures, and civilizations are transformed. And we go through this in our life on, on a very short-term basis. And also there are cycles in life where people are going through major changes. And one of the things I've seen through in my work over the years is that because where we're going is not visible, that people very often get stuck in the place of not knowing how to move forward. And what's called, their life becomes a loop of having similar types of experiences over and over and over again, because we're in a state of not knowing what to do with the information that we have. And the practice can help you navigate out of that space. What it simply means is that there's a need for growth and change. That's all. That's what that is indicative of. And right now, what we're seeing in the world, that everything is breaking. Our economy is uncertain. Housing is uncertain. The food is not healthy. All of these things all of the most basic things that we depend on to live on a daily basis, they don't feel steady. They don't feel dependable. This is indicating the need for change, a need for growth and development, a need for ascension to truly a different state of consciousness, a different awareness where our perception and experience of reality is more in alignment with how we were truly created, because that's all basic practice really is. It's remembering what it is to be a human being. So I invite people in the morning. I will be teaching basic practice. People will be given instruction in a movement and how to incorporate that movement into their daily existence from week to week to week. Audra McNeil will be teaching with me. She'll be teaching basic practice for early childhood education. For those of you that are interested, and you register for that at all events, and it's not .com, but it's allevents.in. Kathryn had to correct me, and I still don't. But if you go to all events, that should come up. And when you get to the All Events website, you put in Restoring the Magic of Your Humanity. Rising Sun is circulating the link at the bottom of the screen, if people are able to cut and paste and get a hold of that. People that are interested in incorporating basic practice into their work can get on my mailing list. D as in David, P as in Peter, H as in Harry, A as in Apple, R as in Run 8 at AOL.com. I'll be doing a training for people who want to teach basic practice or incorporate it into their work. So I haven't set a date for that as yet. That will not be during the winter. That will be during the active time of year, during either spring or summer. I'll be hosting that training. The training will be free. There are some reading materials. There's a training manual for the practice that people need to obtain to do the training. There's also a parent teachers. Early childhood education guide that people can get also. Both of those are on Amazon. And the hand workbook for the basic practice will be up probably before This is the beginning of January before the month is out. The keynote of, and it's not an organization that I started in that way. In fact, my students put up a Facebook page for Alchemy Group some time ago, and they called it Way of the Alchemist, and it turned into WODA, but it's not an official title. But the tagline of WODA is official, and that is building an army of light. And building an army of light, in the words of Pharaoh Saunders, that there is an intelligence here that has a plan. The Creator has the master plan. And I'm old enough, Dr. Wright and Kathryn are old enough that we've lived through a lot of attempts and a lot of different approaches to salvation, to be able to be in this world, to be able to be alive, to be able to be free to choose, to know what to do, to feel safe and protected, which only requires that you operate at a higher frequency than maleficent force. These things aren't difficult to obtain. They've just been obscured from view, where we are disconnected from them. But there is an intelligence moving in this world that you can align with, that's always here, that it is always there, that it is absolutely, absolutely always there, and you can navigate through. The place where magic occurs is not unusual. You know, it's not unusual at all. If you've ever been in what's commonly called the zone or the flow, you transcended the limitations of your emotions and thought, and did that which you might not have thought possible. And we hear stories about that, people that do superhuman things under unusual circumstances. But the reality is that life is meant to fall into place and flow in a way that we may not consider to be normal. But the lack of that, the lack of the normalcy, is not because it is not normal or accessible. It's because it's been hidden, and that's been done intentionally. So the building an army of light it's not organizational. It's not of my own design. It is here. It is an intelligence that's here. Nature didn't design cells that they know what to do, and we as human beings do not. We're obscured from it, and it's available to us. So that is the goal and objective of practice. I hope you join us. Dr. Wright will be facilitating. Kathryn Davis will be facilitating. We have people in terms of resources, information on financial literacy, health insurance. All of the speakers on the panels over the next 8 weeks have very empirical information to share with you that need food sustainability, the things that can support and assist you as we navigate through this time of breaking down of a system for another system to come into being, which is natural in the process of life. The flow of life does this. Breaking down and regeneration is happening in the body that's ruled by the liver. That's happening at all times. But this is a particularly significant time because of the cycle that it represents. This is a long stretch of time. We haven't been here in thousands of years, and we won't be here for another thousands of years. So what we need now most is each other, to connect with each other, and we can make it through. We've been preparing and connected to each other in the preparation, even if we haven't been conscious of it. So that is an invitation. Join us. Again, people that are interested in being on the mailing list for the training, people that want to learn and facilitate the practice. I'm interested in creating teachers before I'm transition, before I become a spirit guide. I'm interested in my work now, for the most part, is documenting my work so that it can carry on after I am no longer here. So if you are a practitioner, even if you just want to learn even if you just want to learn the practice to incorporate it into your own life. Queen Afua has not arrived, and I want to, on behalf of Nicholas Bookstore and Brooklyn, do a shout out, announcement. She has a new book out. Food is Medicine. She will be at Nicholas Brooklyn on Saturday, the 11th. I know the time is between 12 and 4, and I believe I have the address for that.
And Diana, I
Yes.
have a young lady who's going to make that announcement. I'm gonna bring her on because she's going to
Great.
be.
Okay, so Rising Sun is going to make that announcement and give you
No, this sister's going to bring it. Her name is Kufunya. So I'm going backstage again, and Kufunya is going to make the announcement. Kufunya, welcome to this beautiful goddess circle, and unmute your mic so we can hear you.
Yes, greetings and salutations, family.
Greetings, Sister
greetings.
Kufunya. Greetings.
I was listening to the dynamic program, and I had some thoughts, and I like the fact that solutions were given as well. So I'm very happy about that situation right there. And I'm very pleased to see everyone here. Kathy Davis is here, and Akilah, and Diana Pharr, and of course, Uncle Hanky is in the building, uh, orchestrating the goddesses here, So, as many people know, that Nicholas Brooklyn, let me make sure my sound is good. Nicholas Brooklyn continues to celebrate um, 51 years in the Western calendar of a family owned business that believes that every youth that comes to our event gets in free of charge, 17 and under, because we feel that it's very, very vital for the youth them to get this information, because if they're not getting it in the school system, then it has to be at another way to receive the information and from the various guests and whatnot that we have that come into Nicholas Brooklyn. So we give thanks to Nicholas Brooklyn, to Sister Monique and her dad, who created Nicholas Brooklyn back in 1974 in the village, not in the village, in Union Square on 18th Street. So we give thanks for that institution, which I call it's an institution of education, of wellness, of providing the spiritual um, tools that we need living in the society that we do. And my mantra is for us to actually return to our own indigenous practices, um, instead of focusing on Western society, which has not been very kind to melanated and indigenous people. That's my thought. I mean, before the colonizers came, we had our own systems and everything, and I think we should, reclaim those things and not uh, be so. How can I say it? Thinking, they're all that, and like they like to put out their fear and everything like that. But I know that word, sound, power can override any of these things that they're trying to put forth to our community, and we have to take hold of the reins, like the panel has said. Take hold of the reins, and how we do that is by providing very, very good presentations at Nicholas Brooklyn. We're proud to have Kathryn Davis of Heart and Mind Radio being in partnership with Nicholas Brooklyn, so we can spread what we're doing even more. And so, like Sister Diana was saying that our beautiful beloved uh, trailblazer blazer Queen Afua will be in the building from 4 p.m. to no, my mistake, from 12 noon to 4 p.m. So make sure you get there early because I know it's going to be packed. And those tickets can be purchased at eventbrite.com. Just look for January 11th and you'll be able to find it on Eventbrite. Or you can call Nicholas Brooklyn at 718-858-4400 for additional information. It's very good if you get your tickets in advance because there's always going to be more at the door. We're going to have delicious meals there, and it's also going to be live stream as well. And then in February, during African Indigenous History Month, we know that our story is not just 21 days or 30 days, but it's highlighting the contributions of what we have accomplished being on this land. And also, we're providing and we're presenting our very first pure, holistic soul expo. So that's going to take place February 8th and 9th. It's free to the public. The first 100 people will receive gifts. It's going to be at Restoration Plaza. That's a couple of steps from Nicholas Brooklyn. And then we're going to have a part two on the next day at Nicholas Brooklyn, which that is a paid event, and it will also be live streamed as well. Both events, the January 11th event will be live streamed as well, and you can find all that information on Eventbrite. But we're going to be having Brother Haru return. He has all the receipts to help bring the body into alignment. And I feel very excited about the fact that we are taking back our power and restoring our health and wellness on all levels. You know, it's time to reclaim that. You know what I'm saying? So
thank you, Kufunya. I want to bring it back to you, Diana, to wrap up the show. I know that you're getting ready to close out, but the thought was just now, maybe you can network with Kufunya, who just went backstage. And I think it would be a beautiful idea for you, Diana, you, Akilah, you, Kathryn. Maybe you can incorporate a finale at Nicholas.
That would be wonderful.
Kufunya, can you come back forward?
Listen
to what the ladies are saying.
That would be wonderful. And that's Rising Sun, because the finale, February 22nd, the evening is meant to be an open mic.
Well, between Monique and our colorful describer, Kufunya, I think you have to network a finale.
People have a lot to share.
Yeah.
People have a lot to share. And I'm a believer that, in keeping with what Kufunya just said, in terms of indigenous practice, we always ended with celebration where people could dance.
Yes.
And celebrate. You know, that's the tradition. We always dance and celebrate and move and, you know, and eat and share love and be together. And,
please consider that strongly.
Any number of ways. So, you know, Kufunya, if you have my contact information, you can get it through Rising Sun.
Yes.
Everyone else calls him Hanger, and I think I'm the only one that calls him Rising Sun.
No, it's actually something very powerful, but I won't ever share it. And I cherish the way you describe my prismatic incarnation.
Yeah,
hold on, let me finish what I'm saying first, please. There is a need for more feminine representation. You gave a healing just now, Diana, Kathryn, Akilah, that was very rare by your presence, your mature femininity. I was just in a healing trance state watching the three of you. So I salute all the seasons, the moon cycles, that you have accumulated wisdom and what I learned from Diana, something called Shakti. And your Shakti of the three of you was an amazing trinity that I am very humbly thankful to have experienced it. And those in the audience, if you felt the feminine Shakti of these, the trinity here, please post it in the comments because it was something to behold tonight. So I just wanted to thank you. And I'm going to go backstage and I'm going to bring Kufunya back up so she can also eloquently.
I hear you. I just want the family to know that the Purely Holistic Soul Expo is also seeking practitioners. If you're interested, you can call 718-858-4400. And the Purely Holistic Soul Expo is on February 9th. It's a free admission from 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. at the Restoration Plaza. And we're going to have vegan food vendors, sound bath, and more. And one of our key speakers will be Brother Haru. He's also a doctor, but I call him Brother Haru. Will be both at the Restoration and on the 9th at the Expo. And on the 8th, he will be at Nicholas, Brooklyn to answer all of your questions on how to get your body into full alignment, especially in these times, right here and right now. And yeah, I would love to have a celebration because, you know, we've been going to all of these different health expos and this and that, and you don't see too many melanated indigenous people participating as practitioners and or vendors. And it's a brilliant idea that I've been thinking about for a while. I mean, a long time, you know. And Sister Monique, shout out to Sister Monique, said, you know what, Kufunya, we need to be doing our own holistic health and wellness expo. And hence we have this happening. And I think it's very important also the mental state of being, as the panels, you know, discuss, that we definitely have to get into this mental state and provide a way out for our children not to be so hooked on these devices that takes a lot of their energy away from them. When I see them on it for a period of time, I say, hey, you know, why don't you create your own program? So, you know, someone else could watch what you're doing in a more creative vibration, because we are definitely here to create, to co-create with our creator. And we are really not helpless. We just have to guide our youth in a way that you don't have to spend hours on it's very, very harmful to the health, by the way.
Thank you, Kufunya. We're going to close this out. Diana, I want you to add your closing commentary along with Akilah and Kathryn.
Well, I just want, you know, again, to extend an invitation to the community to join us. And I thank Kathryn and Dr. Wright for their time in being here this evening and being generous with their time. Dr. Wright, Kathryn, do you want to say anything before we close out?
Well, I just wanted to mention I'm hoping to have Queen Afua on Heart of Mine on Friday to talk about the event coming up on Saturday, like I had the two of you on. And my goal with the show is to really help to support and build the community of healers, practitioners, educators in a way that can make a difference, because I'm looking at the name of your event, Restoring the Magic of Our Humanity. And I just want to assure everyone that indeed they do have that magic. It's just a matter of, uncovering it, brushing it off, and letting it shine. And that's the objective that we have, to really build that future for generations down the line.
Thank you. Dr. Wright, did you want to say good night?
Yeah, I do want to say good night. And I just want to express this as a prayer, that my prayer is that as women, as mothers, as sisters, as aunts, as grandparents, we truly take into our heart all the things that's been said, and we place that in this idea of one love, that as a people we must have one aim, which is our collaboration, because truly we have one destiny, and that is our continued, not just existence, our continued thriving and the betterment. That's not a word, but that's okay. And the betterment for our children.
It is now. Have a good night. Rising Sun, thank you so much for holding space for us. To the audience, thank you so much for holding space. Have a good night.
Good night.